Rain fell on the broken world of Dravik, turning ash into sticky mud, soaking chains and blood alike. The sky above, once filled with stars, now hid behind thick clouds and war smoke. In the middle of a ruined forest, the sound of sharp growling echoed between scorched trees. The beast roared again. Not from hunger, but from pride. It dragged its slave behind it, her arms bound, her back bleeding from lashes. She was no warrior, no soldier. Just a girl barely grown, her silver skin scratched and bruised, her long violet hair tangled and coated with dirt. Her name was Kalari, and she had known pain longer than she had known peace. The beast wasn't just a creature. It was a weapon used by the Varkan warlords to punish. Its tusks had killed captains. Its jaws had snapped bone like twigs. And yet, to control such a monster, they needed something fragile, something weaker to show dominance. That was Kalari's role. Every day she was forced to serve it, feed it, ride behind it, or be dragged if she disobeyed. The Varkans cheered as they watched. They called her Little Leash. They told stories in bars about the girl with alien grace and helpless eyes, owned by the monster that once tore open tanks. No one helped, no one dared. Fear ruled this land. And fear made the beast king. Until the day a human stepped onto Dravik. He wasn't in armor. He didn't come with a squad. His ship was small and ugly, barely holding together. His boots crunched blackened leaves as he moved through the forest. He had no name on his shoulder, no rank. Just a scar across his cheek and a strange softness. In his eyes, he saw the beast before it saw him. And behind it, the girl. She collapsed in the mud as the beast paused to sniff the air. She turned her head slowly, eyes meeting the stranger's. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. No words, just the cold wind and falling rain. Then Kalari mouthed a single word, help. The man didn't move, not at first. He saw the chain connected to her collar, the blood on her arms, the tremble in her fingers. He looked at the beast. Its mouth was covered in metal rings, its eyes glowing red. It was tall as a tank and twice as wide. No sane person would face that. He took a step forward. Beast growled. The girl's eyes widened. "Don't," she whispered, voice barely rising above the wind. "It'll kill you." But the human didn't stop. He dropped his bag, pulled out nothing but a stun rod, half-charged. It sparked weakly. The Varkans would have laughed. The beast didn't. It lunged. The man dodged, sliding through mud. He moved like a ghost, low and fast. The stun rod crackled against the beast's side. It shrieked and spun around, its tail smashing the tree in half. The girl screamed. The beast struck again. The man rolled under it, jabbing the rod into its belly. Sparks flew. The beast roared in pain but didn't fall. It was too strong. Too angry. The fight turned brutal. Claws ripped through the air. Trees snapped, mud sprayed. The girl cried out as the beast nearly crushed the human's leg. But he kept moving, quick, calm. Each strike he made wasn't meant to kill. It was meant to weaken. He jabbed it behind the ear, then under the jaw, then along the spine. The beast's roars grew slower, its steps heavier. Blood dripped from its mouth. The chain that tied Kalari rattled, then snapped. The girl fell again, shocked. The beast looked at her. Then the human. It lunged one last time. The stun rod crackled. The man shouted and drove it straight into the monster's chest. A burst of light exploded. The beast shuddered. It fell into the mud, its breath steaming, then stopped. Silence followed. Kalari stared. The chain in her hands was broken. The collar on her neck fell off. The man dropped his stun rod and knelt beside her. "You're free," he said quietly. Kalari didn't answer. She just wept. Far away, a Varkan scout saw the smoke. He tapped his communicator. "The beast is down," he whispered, "and a human did it." On the other end, a Varkan commander growled. "The human dies next." Kalari and the man didn't know the Varkans were already preparing for war. They didn't know satellites had marked their location. They only knew that for now she was free, and he wasn't going to leave her behind. Kalari walked slowly through the forest, her legs shaking with each step. The rain had stopped, but the cold stayed in her bones. The human moved beside her, silent but watchful. His name was Jace. That's all he gave her. No rank, no clan, no badge. He had built a fire near the edge of an old bunker, using broken crates and dry moss. The smoke rose carefully. He didn't speak much. He only offered her food and water, then handed her a blanket made from old ship fabric. Kalari stared into the fire, her fingers still trembling. For the first time in years, she wasn't tied. She wasn't bleeding. The weight on her neck was gone. But the fear hadn't left. It stayed in her mind, curled like a snake. "You're not from here," she said finally, voice soft. "No," Jace replied. "I came to find something." "What?" He looked at her. "Hope." Kalari blinked. No one had ever used that word on Dravik. Not in a long time. She looked at the chain marks on her arms. "You picked the wrong place." He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled out a small device, a locator beacon. It blinked red. "They'll come for us," he said. "We need to keep moving." Kalari stood. "The Varkans know this land. If they want us dead, they'll find us." "I'm counting on that," Jace replied. Suddenly, the sound of engines echoed through the trees. Kalari's eyes widened. "Dropships," she whispered. "Too close." Jace grabbed his gear, threw sand over the fire, and pulled Kalari behind a mossy ridge. Moments later, 3 massive crafts hovered above, their lights scanning the ground. Varkan soldiers dropped with metal boots and plasma spears. Their red armor glowed. "They're looking for you," Kalari whispered. "You hurt their beast." Jace stared at the soldiers. "Good," he said. "Let them find me." She grabbed his wrist. "No, you don't understand. The beast was sacred to them. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a symbol of fear. You destroyed that fear." Jace looked calm. "Then maybe it's time someone feared us." Kalari had never seen a human like him. Most were traitors, scavengers, or prisoners. But this one, he didn't bow. He didn't tremble. He stared at death as if it were a friend. And she found herself following him deeper into the ruins. Even as the Varkans spread out to hunt them, hours passed. Day turned to night. The ruins grew thicker. Jace led her into a hidden tunnel below a collapsed tower. Inside, old tech blinked weakly. Rusted drones, crushed armor. He stopped beside a broken pod, wiped off the dust, and opened a case. Inside was a long rifle Terran made, old but powerful. He checked the chamber, then handed Kalari a small stun pistol. "I can't fight," she said, backing away. "You can learn," he replied. You're not just anything." He said sharply, "You lived, you endured. You're stronger than you think." She stared at the pistol. Her hands shook. But she took it. Outside, the sound of footsteps echoed. The Varkans were getting closer. One of them growled in their native tongue. "Find the girl." The human dies screaming. Kalari's breath froze. But Jace turned off the tunnel lights. The air grew still. The first Varkan stepped inside. His red armor shimmered. He saw nothing but shadows. Then a whisper came from behind. "You should have brought more." Jace moved like lightning. One shot to the visor, another to the neck. The Varkan dropped. The others charged in, but the tunnel was narrow. One by one, they fell. Plasma lit the walls. Sparks flew, screams echoed. And still, Jace didn't stop. Kalari stood frozen, watching the human fight. She had seen battles before, but never like this. Not with precision. Not with mercy. One soldier crawled toward her, wounded, reaching for her ankle. She lifted the stun pistol. Her hands trembled. The soldier growled, raising his blade. She fired. The flash hit him square in the chest. He collapsed, twitching. Kelari gasped. Her knees gave out. But Jace was already beside her, lifting her up. "You did it," he whispered. She looked at the fallen soldier. Her heart pounded. I didn't mean to. You protected yourself," he said. "You're not a slave anymore." She couldn't speak. Only nod. Above them, more ships moved. The hunt wasn't over. But Kelari had fired. A weapon, and Jace had taken down a full Varkan unit. Something had shifted, not just in the war, but in her soul. She wasn't just a victim now, she was changing. The next day, the sky turned red with smoke. The Varkans had set fires across the forest to flush them out. Trees crackled. Animals fled. The air stung with ash. Kelari walked beside Jace, holding the stun pistol close to her chest. Her body still ached, but her steps were firmer now. She no longer dragged her feet. She didn't look away when she heard a roar in the distance. She kept moving. They reached an old satellite station, half collapsed but still standing. Jace climbed through the rubble and scanned the panels. "This place used to track off-world traffic," he said. "If I can power it up, I can send a signal." "To who?" Kelari asked. He looked at her. "To anyone who still believes in freedom." Kelari laughed bitterly. "Freedom doesn't exist on Dravik, only chains and whips." "Then we make a new rule," Jace replied. He opened a case of power cells and began rerouting the wires. Kelari stood guard near the door, eyes scanning the forest. For the first time, she felt something strange inside her chest, not just fear, but hope, flickering like the weak sparks from the power core. The signal tower buzzed. Lights blinked. A soft hum returned to the old system. Jace pressed a code into the screen. A countdown began. "It's slow," he muttered, "but it's working." Then they heard it. A horn in the distance. Long, deep, meant for war. The Varkans had found their trail again. Jace looked at her. "Can you run?" Kelari nodded. "Not without you." He smiled. "Then let's go." They slipped through the back of the station, crossing a dead stream filled with broken drones. The path twisted through the rocks until they reached a steep cliff. Below it, an old Terran shuttle lay half buried in vines. "Is that yours?" Kelari asked. "No," Jay said. "It belonged to someone who didn't make it." He climbed down first, clearing the debris from the hatch. The inside smelled of rust and fuel, but the ship still had power. He tapped a console. A low pulse. "Answered. We've got shelter." Kelari sat beside him inside the ruined cockpit. For the first time in days, they had walls around them. She wrapped her arms around her knees, looking at the stars through the cracked window. "I used to dream about escape," she whispered. "But I never thought someone like you would come." Jace didn't look up. He just reloaded his weapon. "I didn't come to be a hero. Then why did you save me?" He paused. "Because no one else did." Silence filled the shuttle. But it wasn't empty. It was heavy with meaning. Kelari leaned her head against the wall. "The Varkans won't stop. They'll send hunters, drones, blood trackers." Jace nodded. "Then we give them a reason to regret it." He pulled out a small holomap. It showed hidden tunnels, old bases, and resistance symbols across Dravik. Most of them were marked destroyed, but one was still blinking. "What's that?" Kelari asked. "An old human outpost. Underground. If we reach it, we might find survivors, or weapons, or another trap." Jace looked at her. "Then we fight our way out." Suddenly, a crash outside shook the shuttle. Kelari jumped. Jace raised his weapon and peeked through the hatch. A massive claw slammed into the metal. Something hissed. Not a Varkan. Bigger, faster, the forest beast. "No," Kelari whispered. "That's a bloodhound drake." They unleashed it. The creature smashed into the shuttle, denting the side. Jace fired once, then twice. The blast barely slowed it. It roared, eyes glowing. Its tongue flicked the air. It had her scent. Kalari grabbed the stun pistol. She breathed hard. Her hands shook, but her voice didn't. We can't outrun it. Then we don't, Jace said. We trap it. He tossed a charge pack into the corner of the cockpit. Get outside. When I say now, shoot the trigger. Kalari crawled through the side hatch, heart racing. The beast pushed its way inside after Jace, clawing through metal. He shouted, "Now!" Kalari fired. The explosion lit the night. Fire burst from the shuttle. The ground shook. The Drake screamed. Jace tumbled out of the hatch just in time. Smoke covering his back. The beast didn't rise again. Kalari ran to him. He was burned, but alive. She helped him up, tears in her eyes. "You could have died." "So could you," he said, coughing. "But you didn't." Behind them, the forest was burning. But ahead, the blinking outpost lights still shone on the map. The war wasn't over. The hunt had just begun. But now Kalari didn't feel like prey anymore. She felt like someone worth saving. Asterisk smoke still rose behind them as Kalari and Jace crossed the burned ridge. The shuttle was gone, but they were alive. The map showed the outpost only a few kilometers away, deep beneath the mountains. If they moved fast, they might reach it before the Varkans closed in. Kalari walked with her shoulders straighter now. Her eyes didn't avoid the shadows. She held the pistol with steady fingers. The girl who once wept in chains was becoming something else, something sharper. Jace limped beside her. The burns on his back hurt with every step, but he didn't complain. He only watched the sky, scanning for drones. They had no time to rest. No backup. Only each other. Suddenly, a flash of blue light streaked through the trees. A warning shot. Then the forest came alive with the hum of hoverbikes. Varkan hunters flew between the trees, armored in black with red visors. "Scatter!" Jace shouted. "Kalari!" Dove into the brush. Blaster fire tore into the trees. Jace rolled behind a fallen log, returning fire. One of the hunters dropped. Another cursed in their native tongue and signaled the others. "They're trying to flank us." Jace called out. Kalari crawled to his side. "I see a cave northwest." He nodded. "Move." They ran together, dodging fire, slipping down a hill into a rocky gorge. The entrance to the cave was narrow, hidden behind a wall of vines. They slid inside just as a plasma bolt scorched the ground behind them. Darkness swallowed them. The air inside the cave was damp and cold. But it wasn't just a cave. It was reinforced with old Terran steel. Lights flickered on as their motion activated sensors. Jace stepped forward and smiled slightly. "We're close," he said. "The outpost is real." They walked down the metal corridor, passing cracked screens and rusted crates. Old banners hung from the ceiling, symbols of Earth's defense force, long forgotten by the galaxy. Kalari ran her fingers across one. "Your people were here before the war?" Jace nodded. "We tried to help. We lost many." They reached a control room. Jace activated the console. A low hum answered. Power returned. A hologram blinked to life, a map of tunnels, weapon caches, and something else. A message. Recorded. "Decades ago. If you're hearing this," the voice said, "you found the last refuge. This place is armed, but not safe. The Varkans know. They're coming. If you're human, fight. If you're not, join us." Kalari stared at the message. Her voice cracked. "Do you think they would have accepted someone like me?" "They still can," Jace replied. Suddenly, an alarm blared. Red lights flashed. Jace turned to the screen. "They've breached the outer cave. 3 squads, heavy units." Kalari's breath quickened. "We're trapped." "No," he said, loading a rifle. "We make our stand here." She looked at him. "We're 2 against 20. "Then let's make it count." Jace set traps along the hallway. Trip lasers, mines, pulse emitters. Kalari helped reload charges, her hands moving faster than ever before. Every click of the weapon reminded her she wasn't helpless anymore. The ground trembled as the first Varkans entered the cave. A mine exploded, sending shockwaves through. The rocks, screams followed. Plasma lit the hall. Jace fired from behind a turret. Kalari shot from a side vent, her aim true. 3 fell. Then 5, but they kept coming. The air grew thick with heat and smoke. Jace was bleeding. Kalari had a burn across her side. But they didn't stop, not now. Not when they had something worth protecting. Suddenly, a massive shadow stepped through the fire. A Varkan commander, taller than the rest. His armor was plated in gold. His weapon buzzed with red lightning. He spoke in a deep growl. "You're the human who broke our beast. And you, the girl who defied your leash." Kalari stepped forward, wounded but unbroken. "I'm not your property." "You were nothing," the commander snarled. "Now, you're worse an example." He raised his weapon. Jace tried to move, but Kalari fired first. The shot hit the commander's faceplate, cracking it. He roared. Jace fired next, hitting the chest. The commander fell back, stunned, then collapsed with a loud crash. Silence filled the tunnel. The rest of the Varkans retreated. They weren't ready to die for a battle they already lost. Kalari dropped to her knees. Jace caught her before she hit the ground. "You saved us," he whispered. She smiled faintly. "No, we saved each other." The battle was over, but the air still smelled like smoke and blood. Jace sat on the cold metal floor, wrapping a bandage around Kalari's side. Her skin was burned, her breath shaky, but her eyes held fire. "You were brave," he said softly. She shook her head. "I was terrified. That's what makes it brave." The outpost systems flickered weakly. Life support was low. Ammunition was nearly gone. They had survived, but only just, and the war wasn't finished. The Varkans wouldn't forget this loss. They would return with more. Kalari leaned against the wall. "We can't stay here." "I know," Jace said. "We need reinforcements." He stared at the blinking map. One last symbol blinked in the far west. A buried transmitter. A Terran emergency relay. If activated, it could reach outer systems. Maybe even Earth's remaining fleet. "It's deep inside Varkan territory," Jace sighed. "Almost suicide." Kalari stood slowly. Her legs trembled, but she didn't fall. "Then we go together." They left the outpost at dawn. The sun was pale behind clouds, casting a golden light over the broken forest. The path to the relay took them through enemy patrol zones, past fallen cities, and toxic rivers. Every hour was a test of their will. At night, they hid inside wrecked towers. During the day, they crawled through tunnels and sewers. Kalari guided them through secret ways only a former slave would know. Jace taught her how to disarm traps, how to spot hidden drones, how to keep breathing when everything felt like death. One evening, they reached the edge of a massive crater. At its center, half buried in rock and ash, stood a tall antenna, twisted, but still standing. "The Terran relay. That's it," Jace said. "If we power it, someone might hear us." Kalari looked around. "There's no cover. We'll be exposed." "They'll know we're here the second we activate it," Jace said. "They'll come fast. Then we buy enough time for the message to send." He nodded. They slid down the crater edge and climbed into the remains of the control bunker. Most of it was destroyed, but the main console was intact. Jace patched wires. Kalari brought power cells from a broken drone. After 2 hours of work, the screen blinked to life, relay active, signal preparing for broadcast. Jace hit the final button. A slow countdown began. 30 minutes, he said. "That's all we need." Kalari stepped outside the bunker, watching the horizon. They're coming. Far in the distance, dust clouds rose. Dozens of hoverbikes, troop carriers. The Varkans weren't sending scouts this time. They were sending everything. Jace loaded his rifle. Kaelari gripped a plasma blade scavenged from a fallen commander. They stood side by side on the broken hill, wind tugging at their hair. "I used to think I'd die in chains," Kaelari whispered. "Alone. You won't," Jace said. "Not today." The first wave arrived. Plasma bolts filled the sky. Jace dropped 3 before they touched ground. Kaelari leapt into the fight, slicing through armor with precision. She moved with speed and fury, no longer a slave, no longer afraid, but the Varkans were endless. Jace took a hit to the shoulder. Blood sprayed. He kept firing. Kaelari was surrounded, but she didn't fall back. She screamed and struck, each blow a promise that she would not be owned again. Inside the bunker, the signal countdown reached the halfway mark. The relay glowed brighter, broadcasting into the black sky. Suddenly, a heavy blast struck near Kaelari. She flew back, hitting the rocks hard. Jace ran to her, dragging her behind cover. "You're hurt," he said, voice breaking. "I'm still here," she replied. Another explosion hit the bunker wall. The relay sparked. Jace crawled to it, shielding the console with his body. 10 more minutes. The last wave of Varkans charged. The ground shook with their steps. Their leader, a giant with spiked armor, pointed a burning sword at Jace. "Human, give up the girl, and we'll spare your life." Jace stood, weapon raised. "You already took her life once. I'm here to make sure you never take it again." Then, Kaelari rose behind him, blood on her face, fire in her eyes. "She's not yours anymore," she said. "I choose my fight now." Asterisk, the final charge came like a storm. Varkan warriors shouted in fury as they stormed the crater. Plasma lit the air. Fire burst from the rocks. Kaelari and Jace stood side by side, their weapons ready, their breath sharp with pain. The signal countdown flashed red 5 minutes. Jace's rifle was nearly empty. Kaelari's blade was cracked, her arm bleeding. But neither stepped back. Not even when the Varkan commander raised his burning sword and roared. "You die for a broken girl?" Jace fired. The blast struck the commander in the chest, staggering him. "She's not broken," he said. "She's stronger than any of you." Kaelari moved fast, sliding through mud and fire. She dodged the blade, jumped onto the commander's back, and drove her blade into the gap in his armor. He roared in pain. Jace fired again. The giant fell. The other Varkans hesitated. Fear crept into their eyes. This was supposed to be easy. A human and a slave girl. But now, their strongest lay dead in the dirt. And the relay tower still pulsed with life. 2 minutes remaining. Then came the scream from above. A Varkan gunship. It hovered over the crater, charging its cannons. 1 shot, and the relay would be gone. Kaelari looked at Jace, her voice barely a whisper. "If we lose the tower, no one will know." Jace clenched his jaw. "Then we stop it." He turned, grabbed the last explosive charge from his belt, and started running toward the cliff. The ship locked onto the tower. The beam began to warm. Kaelari ran after him, stumbling, calling his name. He turned one last time. "Keep the signal alive." He leapt. The charge exploded as Jace slammed it against the ship's core. Fire filled the sky. The ship spiraled, burning, then crashed into the far rocks in a rain of sparks and steel. The earth trembled. Kaelari screamed his name, but the crater fell silent. No more Varkans moved. The rest fled. Some limped. Others crawled. None stayed. The relay blinked. Signal sent. Kaelari dropped to her knees. Her body shook, her vision blurred. But the signal was out. Jace had done it. He had bought the time with everything he had. For a moment, She heard nothing but her heartbeat. Then the relay blinked again. A new signal. Strong. Clear. Message received. Reinforcements inbound. Hold position. Kalari stared at the words. Ben. She looked to where the ship had fallen. Smoke curled into the sky. She rose slowly, limping through the ash and debris. Her hands scraped rocks, her feet burned with each step. She found him. Jace lay among the wreckage, blood on his lips. One arm was crushed, his armor shattered. But his eyes opened as she touched his face. You stayed, he whispered. I told you, she said, weeping softly. Not without you, he tried to smile. Did the message go through? She nodded. They heard us, help is coming. Jace closed his eyes. Good, then it was worth it. Kalari leaned close. You didn't die for me, Jace. You lived for me. You made me live. Above them, the clouds broke. Light pierced the smoke. Dropships appeared on the horizon, Terran ships, coming fast. Soldiers rappelled down, medics rushed forward. Kalari raised her hand weakly. He's alive, she said. He saved us all. Jace was lifted into the ship. Kalari followed, still gripping the broken chain that once held her. Now it was just a piece of metal, a reminder of who she had been, and who she had become. No longer a slave, now a fighter, a survivor, and forever his friend.